Welcome, everyone. This is the eighth grade information night for families that are transitioning to ninth grade to the high school. My name is Lorna Gilmore, and I am a family partnership specialist in the Issaquah School District.
My name is Melanie Bonato. I'm a school counselor at Issaquah High School. Very happy to have you here tonight.
So, the objective and the information today is designed to help parents or caregivers who have not attended or are unfamiliar with the public schools in the United States better understand the school system. It's also to provide resources for families on where to learn more information. So this is my ninth year in this job, and this was our sixth year that Melanie and I will be doing this presentation. And every year we have many families who attend. And one of the things to note is families who did attend high school in the United States also have found this valuable. So we are sure to ensure that all families are invited. It's, yeah, for families new to the US, this is incredibly helpful. Families who attended private school or in other states, because Washington state schools may be a bit different. But also, if you went to school in Washington and, maybe it's been a while, this can be helpful. So, a little bit of background for me. I actually am a teacher in the Issaquah School District. This is my 25th year, but I was a high school parent, high school teacher for 6 years in Texas and the Renton School District. And this year, my daughter is going to be graduating from Issaquah High School. And I will say that as a parent, it is a very different experience experiencing the school district and high school. So I know that I have learned through these presentations and working with Melanie some tips for families, and I hope I'm able to share them with all parents going through high school. So my job is within the Equity and Family Partnership Department, and so is the school counselors. So Melanie and all the school counselors are also part of the Equity and Family Partnership and Belonging group. I supervise and support three family liaisons that work at the high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. Some of you may already be familiar with those liaisons. Lena is at the Liberty High School feeder pattern, Liliana, Issaquah High, and Wendley at the Skyline. After this presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of them with some follow-up questions. And the other person you can reach out to are the middle school counselors. We'll talk more about that soon. So the high school feeder patterns.
Lily, I'm sorry, Lorna. I heard from one person in the chat that the feedback form link did not open for them. So I wanted to make you aware once I'm presenting slides, Lorna can look at those settings and make sure everything's in order. So don't distress. We'll keep that link appearing again and again.
Sounds good. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, so the school feeder patterns. So if your child attends Maywood and if your child attended Newcastle, your child will be going to Liberty High School. If your child attended Cougar Ridge, and then Cougar Ridge Elementary, your child will be going to Issaquah High School, Clark IVE, and Sunset families also attend Issaquah High School. And then Skyline High School is going to be the students who attend Pine Lake and Beaver Lake. Pacific Cascade students also attend Issaquah High School. So the feeder pattern is the fact that those students do not have to apply to go to the high school. They are automatically going to be enrolled at the high school. But what they need to do is a process known as course selection. And so in the next month, all of your children will be invited to complete the course selection for their high school classes. So that's really the only big thing parents need to do who are already in the school to go to high school. One of the big other questions parents asked is, from middle school to high school, can we choose where we want to go? And the answer, unfortunately, is no, because at this time, all three of our high schools are at capacity. Honestly, my daughter will remind me many times that it's over capacity. And because of that, the schools cannot take students transferring from other schools. Sometimes there may be a situation where a student from Issaquah High School applies to go to Skyline, and then there might be an opening, and then they will take the next person on the list. So you can apply for an in district transfer, and you've got to go through something known as the open enrollment process. And you can send me a link, and I can let you know where that is. But otherwise, for the high school next year, you cannot choose. You will be going to your feeder pattern high school. What you can choose, however, when we go through and talk about Gibson Eck and the ISD online school, those two programs are open to every single child in the Issaquah School District from eighth grade to apply for their ninth grade year. And Tanya will talk a little bit more about Gibson Eck. Okay. So one of the big things that one of the reasons we started doing this is because many families that were coming from other countries were very they found it challenging as to how it's so different and what are some of the main differences. They wanted to talk more about that. So the main difference between secondary schools in the US and other countries is in in the US, families in other countries, families and students are the managers of their education, but in the US we really push for the students to manage their own education. Access to high school education, public high school education, is free for all students grades 9 through 12. And it's provided to all students with the exception, with some age restrictions. Students are independent. Students are independent. They're responsible for choices and decisions made towards their high school and beyond path. We're going to talk a lot more about high school and beyond path because one of the big questions you all asked about was how do they do course selection? Students need to advocate for their academic welfare. We'll talk a little bit more about that also because people asked in the registration form, how can I help my child be successful in high school? And that is learning to advocate and get independence. The high schools also focus on developing well-rounded students that are both academically well-rounded and other interests. And that's why all of the ISD schools offer a variety of clubs and sports to really encourage student participation, student leadership, and developing the whole child. So the ISD focuses on college preparedness and with many opportunities and pathways to trade schools, technical colleges, and other opportunities after high school. And we also work on developing a well rounded child. So from the middle school to the high school, the main big difference you're going to notice is in the middle school, they had trimesters. When they get to the high school, they're going to have the semester system. So last week, for example, January, end of January, it always will happen. The high school students were going through their finals. Now, in middle school, they don't really have finals. But in high school, they actually have a finals week where each class, the teacher is going to give them a final. They're going to go to school for a couple hours. It's a half day, usually a couple days, maybe whole days, but it's a modified schedule for the whole school for that finals week. Students, another big difference is in high school, there are many courses and students self-select courses throughout high school. So they won't be placed by a counselor or a teacher. You already experienced that in middle school, where you as a parent chose the math pathway and the science based on advice, but the child chose that. It's the same thing also in high school. The children will be able to self-select. Teachers and counselors can advise students regarding course selection and beyond, but it's really ultimately going to be the student's decision. In high school, there are many more choices for courses, especially as you move to 10th through 12th grade. In ninth grade, it's mainly the introductory classes are transitioning from middle to high school. But after 10th grade, especially in the 11th and 12th grade, you're going to see that the students can take a lot more classes. There are also more opportunities for clubs and extracurricular activities. At the high school, you're also going to find that the school counselor and the college and career center become key places that students visit to get advice and to get information. The school counselors do a lot of work with academic counseling and supporting the students on choices, talking about, what classes they should take or could take and their graduation requirements and do they have everything needed for graduation. But the College and Career Center is also a great place for them to explore post high school opportunities. We'll talk more about that later on. There's a slide just for that. So, common high school terms. I know I was talking to my dad this weekend, and he still is not familiar with this, despite the fact that all four of his kids went through high school, because they're unfamiliar terms for him, correct? Because he didn't really use it as when he was a child. But ninth graders, they call freshmen. I told him to remember as they're fresh into high school. Freshman. 10th grade, sophomore. 11th grade are juniors, and 12th grade are seniors. And this incoming class, next year's freshman, will be class of 2030. I know that I have a child in it's a child in the high school who's going to be going to high school, and it's interesting that she'll be part of the class of 2030. So, next one, transcripts. Transcripts are record of all of the grades all classes, all students take in high school. So this is important because my older daughter, is graduating from high school this year, and schools are going to be asking for her transcript. Right now, all of the colleges she applied for, the school counselor will be uploading a transcript into her college applications so that they can see that. Okay, the schools all have to share the students' grades, their transcripts for the ones they applied to only after the first semester grades are also set. So this is a record, it's an official record. And note that the transcript format is actually created by the state of Washington. It's not something we as a district just created. It's something that is very formal, created by the state of Washington. There's a lot of codes on there, and all of those codes are to help colleges figure out what classes the students took. And then it's part of the college application process. Melanie is going to continue on with this.
Okay, thank you, Lorna. So in high school, each class will receive a letter grade at the end of the semester. So 2 semesters, so 2 grading periods on the high school transcript. Each letter grade has a numeric value that you see on the right-hand side. And when you take the average of all of those grades and their numeric values, that is how we reach a grade point average or a GPA. In Issaquah School District, each teacher is determining the process for reaching a final grade for the semester, but it tends to be a cumulative grade based on tests, assignments, projects throughout the semester. And each teacher will give students a syllabus. You'll see it on their Canvas site, showing details to give clarity about how they reach a final grade, so students can monitor that throughout the semester. D is a passing grade, meaning that a student has earned credit for the class. F is a grade that indicates the student failed the class and did not earn credit, in which case the student may need to repeat that credit or a similar course in order to meet their graduation requirements.
Oh, sorry. There we go. I need another.
There we go. So the chat is very busy, so Lorna is multitasking here. So how does a student earn high school credit? So each semester-long class is a 0.5 credit, so half a credit. And when a student completes semester 1 and semester 2 of, say, their English class, that's the full 1.0 credit for the year in that curriculum. Because we have a 7-period schedule, each semester students will earn 3.5 credits if they pass all their classes, and that would lead up to 7 credits each year. We will talk more about graduation requirements in a minute. But as students may not pass a class, they might lose some of that credit. They might not earn credit required to graduate, but they have the right to continue in their education through the year in which they turn 21 or until they've earned a diploma. So ideally, all students will graduate after 4 years of high school, but if not, we hope that they will keep coming, keep going. They still have a right to education, and we can still help them reach a high school diploma.
Till they're 21, they can go to high school.
If they still need to, if they've not yet met their graduation requirements. Washington State has compulsory attendance laws. So what that means is in Washington State, by law, students must attend school, ages 8 to 18. There are some exceptions. Some families will choose to enroll. I'm sorry, can everyone make sure to mute? There we go. So everyone should be attending school. If you aren't attending school, it's very likely that we'll reach out to you and try and come up with a plan for you to be in our school. There are other options. So some families will choose to look at private school or homeschool or online school. So options do exist, but we want all students 8 to 18 enrolled in education in Washington State.
Melanie, just a quick question. Are students allowed to take pass-fail grades?
Typically, pass-fail grade is not very common. So for core classes, we do expect students to be seeking a letter grade. There are certain classes that by the nature of the class, they are deemed pass-fail credits, or a satisfactory, unsatisfactory credits, like a teaching assistant position or a class that is designed specifically to be, say, a credit retrieval. Most classes, the majority of classes, do receive a letter grade.
And the last note is in a question people asked about homeroom, and homeroom is a class per se, a time slot, but they do not get credit for that class.
Yes, so within a student's schedule, they may see what looks like a class, homeroom, or flex session. These are times, these are non-instructional times when we are supporting students with a variety of things that they need to know in high school, giving them access to opportunities to learn about things beyond specific curriculum that they need to complete to graduate. Those are mandatory attendance, and they do not earn credit, but they are crucial for students to attend.
And there's a question that I think we should answer right now, which is, do kids get more credit for AP or honors classes? The weighting question, the weighted grade.
Okay. I think we get into this in more detail when we're talking about transcript. I think often the question is, what is the value of taking more rigorous curriculum? In general, each class is a 0.5 credit, regardless of how rigorous the curriculum is. There are some exceptions. There are some classes that are aligned to college level curriculum through a CTE, career and technical ed dual credit program, or a college and the high school dual credit program, where the student may earn more credit than the typical semester long credit, but those are the exception rather than the rule. In terms of how rigor relates to a student's grade point average or GPA, all grades are factored in based on their credit value. There is no weighted GPA in Washington State. Washington State law does not allow it on public transcripts. But colleges can see the level of rigor on a transcript. So they are used to comparing apples to oranges to see how a student is challenging themselves in high school.
And parents asking how a grade's weighted, and this is the system for calculating GPA. So there is
no weighting. It is based on the letter grade that a student receives for the semester, this numeric value, and then you add up the total of all of these points and divide by the number of classes. That's how you get the average. There is no weighted GPA.
Yes, so
Let's
they
go
take
a little bit deeper into the transcript, Lorna, before we answer too many more questions.
I'm just going to let them know though, for everyone gets credit except Fs.
Yes. Okay, so this is an example of a Washington State high school transcript, and there's quite a lot of information on this transcript. So whether the audience is a 2-year college, a 4-year college, a scholarship committee, an employer, they will see a lot of information. Washington State law determines the format of the transcript. So you'll see at the top, Washington State high school transcript. And then the grade point table as set by the district is listed at the top to give context of how the GPA is reached. And then you see all of the schools a student has attended where they took high school classes for high school credit. Just below that, and you can see it could be they've taken high school content in middle school. Could be they've taken high school content through online class in the summer. Could be they've taken class through a dual enrollment program called Running Start, wherein they take classes at a local college and it counts for high school credit while also counting for college credit. So all of that can be seen on the transcript. You'll see the next section just below schools attended is the course designation key. And this sheds light on the last column, the last detail in each column where it says course deg, that is the course designations. And that tells more about the rigor of curriculum. So wherever you see an A, that indicates an AP class was taken. If you see a B, it stands for CADR, which is College Academic Distribution Requirement. That reflects that that class is a college preparatory class. There are dual credit programs, dual enrollment programs, which means a student can earn college credit for the curriculum. And you'll see designators for that, college and the high school, international baccalaureate, running start, advanced placement, all CTE dual credit. All of these are college level classes, and it's displayed on the transcript that your student has taken rigor of that magnitude. And so while it isn't weighted in the GPA, the schools are accustomed to looking at those designators to measure the level of rigor that a student has pursued. And that can speak to a student's college readiness. Then you'll see each individual class taken is its own line item, and it'll show the credit and the letter grade. And all of that then factors into the GPA in the right column. You see at the bottom, highlighted in yellow, is the cumulative information. So cumulatively, this student has taken 18.75 credits at an average of 3.7 something, my eyes can't see, GPA. So that's showing kind of overall their grade trend. And then you also see the detail within the transcript. So the transcript tells quite a story about a student's path through graduation. Lastly, at the end, there are additional state requirements, other additional things that are not specific classes that you need to do to graduate that will show on the right-hand side. And in this case, High School and Beyond Plan is a task that students do a little bit each year to explore where they'd like to be after high school and to help them plan their high school education to get there. That'll typically show as not met until they graduate from high school. Washington State history is not a specific credit requirement, but it is something students must accomplish sometimes 7th through 12th grade. And that will show as met if they met it. Typically in our district, it has been a part of the 7th grade social studies curriculum. I believe that there are changes coming with that, but for your students, it was part of their 7th grade curriculum and should show as met.
Yeah, and don't worry, if your child didn't attend 7th grade in Issaquah School District or Washington State, they still will have an opportunity to take that class in high school to meet that credit.
Yeah, so let's keep going. We have more details about these transcripts. So blowing up a little bit more of what you saw in the last slide, that class description is the name of the class. It shows when they took the class. We obviously pulled this quite a while ago. It shows how many credits they attempted. That's where it says cred ATTP. This is how many credits attempted. And then cred earn showed did they successfully complete that class and earn credit. Running Start classes have their designation under that course designation column. Online classes will be reflected often in the title of the class. So credit, as we just
online.
One more time.
The geometry class is online, and you can see that designation.
Yeah, exactly. As we said before, credit is earned for passing grades, A through D, or a P or an S, which are GPA neutral. There is no credit earned for an F grade, which does impact your GPA, or a grade of U for unsatisfactory. Those are less common, but those are non-credit earning grades. Okay, and this gets to the very bottom of the transcript where you're seeing more of a summary. So you see the total report, the cumulative summary, each grading period is its own separate line item, and the credit earned and GPA credits attempted and earned is reflected there. So you see the average for each grading period reflected on the right. And then at the bottom, you see the cumulative list. So on this transcript, 29.25 cumulative credits earned at an average of 3.817 GPA for an average overall of all of those grades throughout high school. Then at the bottom, as I said before, you'll see additional state requirements, and you may see additional information that is not necessarily required to graduate, but shows Washington State benchmarks that a student may have met. So a student who has demonstrated college readiness on a state assessment in English and or math will see that Washington State Higher Ed Placement Agreement line at the bottom there. That indicates that to a college that perhaps they don't have to take a placement test to place into their first college level English class because that state test demonstrated their college readiness. It's not a requirement to graduate per se, but it's more useful information. You also see the Washington State Seal of Biliteracy. So for students that are biliterate, they have strong reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills in another language. There are ways that they can demonstrate levels of biliteracy, and that can be reflected on their transcript. So you see that on the right as well. And we'll talk more about the graduation pathways in a moment. So students can request to have their transcripts sent directly to a college, to a university, to a scholarship organization, to another organization like NCAA to get cleared for college level athletics. And that is all within a service that we call Parchment. So as students enter high school, we encourage them to get their Parchment account set up with their own email address so that they are taking ownership of being able to send transcripts. That'll be the way that they can access their transcripts long after high school when they are no longer minors. So it's important for students to be involved. And there's details about how to access Parchment on the counseling webpage of any high school. not a big thing that you need to know now, but later in high school, it'll become important.
Melanie, just want to remind parents, because all of these parents are 8th grade parents, but if your child is taking classes that are eligible for high school credit, it does appear on the transcript, and they're getting 0.3, the credit earned is 0.33 and attempted, and all of that will be on their transcript, okay?
Okay, so what information do we not put on a transcript? So Washington state law strongly influences what goes on a transcript and what must not be added to a transcript. If a student has a 504 plan or an IEP plan, if they have a health condition, if they have had a discipline issue in school, none of this information appears on the transcript. By law, will not appear on the high school transcript. Grades that a student receives throughout the semester from a teacher that is indicating kind of where they are progressing through the class, those are in progress grades, and those do not appear on a transcript. It is only the final grade at the end of the semester that appears on the transcript. And lastly, as we discussed earlier, the grade point average, there is no weighting. So in some states, yes, a student may take an AP or IB class, and it will be weighted to a 5 instead of a 4.0 in a 4.0 scale. In Washington state, this is not allowed on public transcripts, and all GPAs are unweighted. Now, when a student is applying to a college, one of the things that a counselor includes in their school report is a school profile page, which explains the school's grading policy practices, weighted or unweighted, things like that, to give the context to a college of the environment where a student has learned. And colleges are going to look at how a student has performed the rigor that they've chosen in the context of the school where they were attending. So in some schools, there are very few AP classes available, and a college would know that based on the school profile. In other classes, in other schools, like there may not be an international baccalaureate program, and colleges would know that based on what they see in our school profile. So that school profile gives context to the learning environment for a student. Other questions from the chat, Lorna?
I was just replying to a parent that clubs and sports are not in the transcript either. And a parent was asking about weighted and unweighted again, and you clarified that because there's a question that Skyline offers it and Issaquah High School doesn't, and the answer is no Washington State school does a weighted system.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what do you have to do to graduate from high school? So there are requirements set by Washington State. And in addition to that, Issaquah School District has the ability to further clarify what they would like to see their students graduate. So as a big picture, one of the things students need to do to graduate is to earn credits, to take and pass classes. So 24 credits to graduate is the minimum. You'll notice that with a 7-period schedule, if you pass all of your classes, all 4 years, 7 times 4, you'll end up with 28 credits. Many of our students earn substantially more credit than the minimum needed to graduate from high school. So that is not a bad thing. They're not only showing how they're graduating from high school, they're also showing preparedness for their life after high school plans. So students do need to meet that minimum number of credits to graduate. There are also specific subject area credits that they need to graduate. So when a student earns credit, it shows they have passed that course. And we've discussed passing grades a little bit earlier. The F grade indicates a fail. Each teacher sets their own percentage values for what is a passing or a failing grade. Typically, 60% or higher is passing, but that may vary by teacher. The teacher will need to have it clearly expressed in their syllabus. And students will know that from reading their teacher's syllabus each year. Any other questions on that one? Okay, so in addition to earning 24 total credits, as I said, there's specific class requirement credits. That students, and I'm just going to mute here. Thank you.
Sorry, I keep on trying to mute all, but new people are coming and unmuting.
That's okay. So there's specific subject area credits. It's not just 24 of any credits. There are specific subject area credits that you need to graduate, and we'll get into that in more detail in a moment. You'll see that on the course guide for the district and each high school. The graduation requirements are set by the point in time when a student enters high school. Those are the rules for that graduating class. Those are the rules that stay with them, whether they graduate in 4 years or they need a little bit more time to graduate. They'll be held to the requirements of the cohort they were in when they entered high school. So they need 24 credits. They need specific subject area credits. They need, over the course of high school, to complete a high school and beyond plan. This is a small activity that students do. They will likely see this in homeroom or delivered by the school in instruction at some point each year. And they work through some exercises to explore their post-high school interests, how they're planning for life after high school, with the hopes that they will make the connection between where they want to be after high school and how they can use their high school time to reach those goals. This year, students will be completing that task on a website called Zello. That is something that they can reach through ClassLink. And there's a great opportunity to explore careers and colleges and a lot of self-exploration. There's a nice to-do list in there where students can see the specific items. And it is something that the school will bring to students on a regular basis to make sure they're aware of it. So 24 credits, subject area requirements, high school and beyond plan. The next thing is all students must meet a graduation pathway. This is kind of a big picture concept that's a little difficult to understand. It used to be that all students had to pass one specific state test to graduate. Now, passing the state test is just one way to demonstrate that they're ready to graduate, and that could earn them the graduation pathway. But there are many other ways to meet that requirement as well, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And then lastly, I think I mentioned this earlier, all students must complete Washington State history at some time between 7th and 12th grade. It is currently has been built into our 7th grade social studies curriculum, but there's also a class that can be taken in high school to meet the requirement. Even there are college classes that can be taken to meet this requirement. So high school counselors have good ideas about how to solve this problem if a student doesn't come to the high school having met this requirement.
Just a note, we did an entire video and a presentation on graduation pathways and what you need to graduate from high school. And it's our own session 2 weeks ago, and the recording can be found on the website, the resource link I'd sent you.
Okay, so what it takes to graduate from high school is one thing. And then there are some additional things that a student may need to plan for if they would like to go directly to a 4-year college or university right after high school. So we see each subject area on the left, and then in the middle column, what are the number of credits you need to earn a high school diploma? And In some subject areas, it is very specific which classes. So it isn't just 3 social studies classes. There's specific social studies classes that must be earned. Same thing with math. So you see 4 credits of English, 3 credits of social studies, 3 credits of math. For science, students for sure need 2 lab science classes. All of the science classes in our science department that start with a course code SC, those are all lab science classes. And you'll see in the course guide designators that show aspects of each course, like what is a lab science class. For the 3rd credit, it might be a lab science class, or they can take some science credits that are not necessarily lab-based. World language. So to graduate from high school, you see 2, but then an asterisk. And you see down at the bottom, it indicates students may choose, in lieu of taking 2 credits of world language, also 1 credit of art, they may choose to take a different personal pathway. They may choose to take a different class that more specifically aligns to their post-high school goals. So for example, a student may be very interested in going into the trades. They may have an interest in going into a construction program. And throughout high school, they may elect, knowing that a trade school does not require world language. The student may elect not to take world language and instead to take other classes that specifically help them prepare for their post-high school goal. So not all students complete world language as a part of their graduation requirement. It is highly recommended for students that plan to go directly to 4-year college right after high school. And I think important to note here, as we said before, if a student is biliterate, they read, write, listen, and speak in another language, they can take a competency test in high school that allows them to earn up to 4.0 world language credits. Now, this is something that is offered each year in each high school. How and when it's offered can vary. So I know it is Issaquah High School this year. I have a list of students who are really eager to take this test, and we're still waiting on the specific date when those tests will be available, but we know it will happen this year. So sometimes the details vary, but it's something that students can certainly do, cannot do it until they are in high school, and must do it through the high school, cannot take that test outside of the high school. Then going down the list, you can see State of Washington says 2 years of art to graduate, but one of those also can be substituted for a personal pathway. So 1 credit really does need to be art, and to be inclusive for the most number of colleges, you want a traditional fine art class, something in music, art, painting, not more of the technical art credits. And you'll see that in the course guide as well. But that other 1.0 could be substituted for something else. So a student with a strong interest in going into health sciences in college might choose to go with a 4th science class rather than a 2nd art class. That's an example of a personal pathway. You'll see to graduate from high school, you need PE, health, career and technical ed, and elective credits. These aren't specifically required for college entrance, but colleges do want to see a high school diploma. So while they are not specific about these courses, the high school diploma is important. All of our standard honors, AP and IB courses are aligned as college readiness classes. So preparing students to demonstrate. On the right, what you see is that higher bar to graduate. Colleges may want to see, 4-year colleges may want to see more specificity in certain areas. So to graduate high school, you need 3 credits of math, algebra 1, geometry, and a 3rd year that is appropriate for your post-high school goals. Doesn't specifically have to be algebra 2, but If your specific goal is to go directly to a four-year college, four-year colleges do want to see math through Algebra 2 and a quantitative class in your senior year. Science, 3 credits, broadly defined. However, colleges are more specific and would like to specifically see biology and would like specifically to see a math-based science, typically chemistry or physics. So you can see on the right, there's more specificity, and there's a really good detailed list on the district website about all of these graduation requirements. Each individual college is sets their own standards, a level of rigor, selectiveness. So depending on a college, they may have more specific requirements beyond this, but this is a good broad stroke understanding of minimum for college entrance requirements. And this,
Oops, sorry.
There we go. This graphic is from the state of Washington, from the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, or OSPI. Really good visual, just to give you that big picture. Everybody's going to do 4 credits of English, 3 credits of science, math, social studies. And yes, there's some more specific choices to be made there. You do need 2.0 credits, 0.5 health, and 1.5 PE. Art and career and technical ed, all of those 17 foundational are must-haves. And then 7 electives, you get a little bit more personal choices here. So as we said, world language is something that students will do if they are planning on going directly to four-year college, but some students will choose that that is not appropriate for their post-high school goals. Some students will take more art than the one that is required. That's a personal path, and they could choose something else. And there are 4 elective credits just overall built into those 24 credits needed to graduate. So currently, if you go to these links on each high school website, you will see information that was prepared for last year's course request season. Those links will be updated over the course of the next month. So you'll see there is course guide information, big picture information on a lot of levels. And then the course catalog within the course guide will give you a description of every single class that we offer, including tags of what graduation requirement does it meet? Is it a college readiness class? What other things do I need to know about this class? Lorna, did you want to open this?
Yes, I would like to demonstrate a little bit about the high school course catalogs. So as you can see right now, they are from this year's courses being offered in the school districts, in the schools. They will be updated in February, but they are not live yet on the website. So when you get ready to register your child for, or your child gets ready to register for their classes next year, those course guide information, the course catalog will be available at that time. So the best we can do right now is show you, and the reason we're showing you is because many of you are asking questions that are great questions, but it's best for you to really look at the website to get some of this information, because it has so much information, and very often parents don't know about the course catalog. So for example, this is the high school catalog, and it talks about Issaquah High School's one. And once you get here, there are several filters to help you figure out how to choose what classes you want to take. So if your child, for example, is a 9th grader and you're trying to decide what languages they have and options for them at Issaquah High School, and this, by the way, looks the same for all of them. The courses, of course, selection are different for Liberty and Skyline, but the layout and how to use it is similar. So it shows you what languages are offered in for 9th graders at Issaquah School District. Someone, for example, asked me, can they take ASL? And yes, 9th graders can take ASL 1. They can take different Spanish, French, and Japanese classes. Now, what if you're a 10th grader? What are your options? That breaks it down too. For a 9th grader, if you're asking what are some visual arts performing classes, You can do the same thing using the filter to see what kind of classes you can take. And note in this one, it actually even shows you what the other schools are doing, just because it's kind of the same database that all three schools are sharing. And it tells you what are some classes. Notice for the fine arts, there are also several classes that also could be CTE credit. For example, that's career and technical education. So they not only count towards art class, but they're also counting towards a CTE credit. So this is a really good place to kind of look and see what your options are. Right now, don't get too tied into this because it is going to change for next year. But in general, most of the core classes are very, very similar. We can change the majority of our catalog within a year. That's really hard to do. The other thing I really like about this is the instructional flow chart, because many people said, hey, what class would my child take next year? So for each of the classes, it kind of has a flow chart. So for mathematics, for example, if your child is coming from Issaquah Middle or Pacific Cascade, and they took, for example, Algebra 1, then next year they would have the opportunity to take geometry. But if your child doesn't feel like they're quite ready for geometry, they want to take something a little bit lighter, then they could take some other math. But just note, to graduate from high school, you need to graduate with Algebra 2. So you need to have up to Algebra 2 to graduate from high school. If you're going to take, if your child right now is in geometry, what is the next class they can take? Then they're going to take Algebra 2. And there are a couple options for the level of Algebra 2 based on what they think they're most comfortable with. Next one is also science. So our students, all of our eighth graders, most of the eighth graders are right now in science pathway, the regular pathway, they're taking general science. If they're in biology, next year they have an opportunity to take either chem labs, or they can take the chemistry class. So it kind of tells you what are their classes that they can take, but there are also many options beyond chemistry and physics and biology that students can take in high school. You can kind of see some of the options here. So note that it's not just biology, chemistry, physics. Based on the class that they're interested in, there are so many options. And some of these classes are college in the high school kind of credit. Some of them are AP. A lot of people are asking in the chat about IB, and we're not really going to touch too much on that. We'll just talk about the definition, but we'll send you a link to the IB person at Skyline, because Skyline is the only high school of the three schools, comprehensive schools, that has the IB program. And I'll send you a link to that information night, because it's unique and there's a lot of nuances you can learn about.
Okay, am I taken back over?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I can do this one. Okay, so high school courses, how do you know which classes to take? There are quite a lot of choices and options over the course of high school. And as a guiding principle, what we encourage, and it's a very American system here, of you are choosing classes that fit your individual needs. And there is no one right choice for all students. So what we hope is that all students will consider all of the information that we make available, and they'll think about their own personal interests, their own strengths as a student, their areas of need, and choose academic rigor that is right for them. They're also going to be encouraged to think about their post-high school plan, what sort of things they want to be doing after high school, whether it is going into the military, pursuing trades, going to a 2-year college, a 4-year college, going into the military. That can play a role in which classes they pursue. They also will get to think about their full experience throughout the day. So with 7 classes and the possibility for extracurricular activities, having friends, maybe doing sports or clubs, we hope that students will think not just about each individual class, but also the load that they're taking on over the course of the full day, and choose a balance of academic classes that will challenge them, but still allow them to eat, sleep, enjoy their life, enjoy learning, and thrive in the high school setting. So there is no one size fits all. It does depend on the student, their interests, their strengths, and their post-high school goals. In general, for 9th grade, there are some big broad strokes. You are going to choose which of 2 English classes, which of 2 or 3 social studies classes, what's the next class in your math sequence. So broadly for 9th grade, those are the decisions that you're making this year, is just for 9th grade. And you might be thinking about the whole experience over high school, but you don't have to. No choice that you're making in 9th grade is necessarily restricting choices that you can make in the future. So you're really focused on the immediate. Colleges really vary. Some colleges are highly selective, some colleges are very inclusive. And the best way to learn about an individual college is to look at their admissions website individually. But in general, planning for college prep classes, which we offer very broadly, will help your student prepare for all possible post-high school goals. There is an opportunity to mix and match in high school. So just because you choose honors or AP in one area does not mean you must choose it in another subject area. You get to decide for each individual course area. You might choose more rigor in one direction and less in another to fit your own personal profile. Some of the programs that we've talked about here in the combination of courses, AP, IB, Running Start, may be options that come more into play later in high school. It really does vary. The IB program is designed specifically for 11th and 12th grade, although there's really good classes to prepare for that curriculum later in high school. AP classes, each individual class has a grade band for whom it is open. So as Lorna showed in the course catalog, you can click, I want to see 9th grade classes that are honors, and you'll see which honors classes are open to 9th graders, or same thing with AP, etc. Running Start is a program, and WANIC as well. These are programs that allow a student to take classes outside of our school district in a neighboring college or another school district. And those typically are available later in high school, 11th and 12th grade. You may have many questions right now about Running Start, but that should not directly impact what choices you are making for 9th grade. You can make pretty good decisions about 9th grade without knowing everything about the Running Start program that you might be interested in later in high school. There are some good ways to get to know a little bit more about any of these programs. But as we said, there's no one standard way to prepare for your post-high school goal, whatever it is. Each student is really considering what is their best path for them. And course catalog is a great source of information. Your current teachers know how you learn and know about the offerings 1 year up from your current classes. So current English language arts teachers should give good guidance about pros and cons of the English language arts courses for the next year. And then students are individually making their choices. We are not placing your students into curriculum. They are making an informed self-selection themselves based on the information that's shared with them. Lorna,
I want
any
to,
additional thoughts there?
yeah, just a couple correction, not corrections, but just clarification. So honors. In middle school, we call them advanced. So, for example, it's advanced English versus regular on track English. So, when you go to the high school class, it's called honors English or honors. So, it's basically the advanced class, but I don't think they call them the advanced class because then it would get confusing with AP, advanced placement. So, they call them honors. So, many of the classes in ninth grade, especially, because many students in ninth grade don't take AP classes. They're just kind of giving them this rigorous class to help prepare them for potentially taking an AP class, but they don't have to. So know that a kid can take regular English and then later on take an advanced placement in AP English class. So they can mix and match. Also, because they take honors classes in, let's say, English, doesn't mean they also have to do honors classes in math or social studies. It gives the child the opportunity to mix and match. There's always concern that students sometimes take a very rigorous set of classes, meaning they take all of these IB classes or all of these AP classes, and it gets too much. You know, it's a very heavy load while they're still trying to do clubs and sports. So we always want to make sure that they're balancing their life and their schedule. So you can also go the other way. You could be in a more advanced math class or advanced science class, and then the next year you can choose a different pathway. So it's really all about self-select because we have many, many options. I showed you the science classes. We have so many science classes, material science, environmental science, biomedical class. So there are a lot of options. So don't feel like you have to take certain classes. Melanie also talked about graduation pathway, which was actually the next slide, but I'll come back to this one because in when you do graduation pathway right now, all of your kids should have or will between now and the next month do something called the Zello Career Readiness. It's a matchmaker survey, and it's a great activity they do in Zello that kind of just looks at their interests. What are you interested? What is your pathway? What is your future going to look like? And then based on their interests and how they answer the questions, it gives them suggested careers. And then it also might give them suggested classes that they could take because that Zello program is connected to our course catalog and it will select some possible classes that your student might be interested in taking in high school. So the Zello and just the career pathways, the graduation pathways was something required by Washington State because they realized many years ago that students are graduating from high school without really exploring and understanding what were their options or knowing what they wanted to do. They were choosing classes because they felt that they should choose their classes without really having a clear view about that. So that's why having them doing this Zello activity and exploring different options, it's a great opportunity for them. A lot of that information is in this video that we did, that I have that from an event I did 2 weeks ago. So you can get more information about that. But going back to this one, parent also asked about WANIC, and some parents were also asking about trade schools and trade pathways. WANIC is a good example of classes. It's a program through Lake Washington, but it's a consortium. That's the C in there. It's a network of different districts that are all connected between Lake Washington, Bellevue, and a couple others. And the students go to different campuses to take classes on automotive, aviation, nursing, games at DigiPen, all of these different things. But WANIC classes are only, kids can only take it in 11th and 12th grade. Same thing with Running Start, which is earning college credit at different colleges such as Bellevue College and online at CWU. But again, another thing you can only take in the 11th and 12th grade. So parents coming in, they feel overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, I got to make all these decisions. And the answer is no. There are very few class choices you've got to make for next year. A lot of those other opportunities are really choices you're going to make later in 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade based on what your student starts noticing and saying that they have interest in. Part of the school system in the United States is really giving students opportunities for many pathways and options. And so there's no direct path. So if you remember the course catalog page, the top entire section is the same on all three high schools, and it says there's no one pathway. You can choose your pathway. Okay, and so that is really a core idea, which is hard because many kids just want to take the highest level in English, the highest level in math, the highest level in science, but that is not necessarily what the colleges may be looking for the program or the interest that the child is interested in going into or the program they are going to. So Oviet says admissions vary. Check out college admissions. Definitely, as your child is getting into ninth grade, sometime in ninth and 10th grade, visit the college websites for the colleges they're interested in going and look at the admissions criteria. That is really going to help a lot trying to see what they're interested in because you'll see that they're also looking again for that concept of well rounded activities, volunteer work, leadership opportunities. So they're looking for rigorous classes, which can be in honors and AP and IB, many different ways to take rigorous classes, but no one is expecting your child to take every single class as being a rigorous class. Colleges and schools are well aware that that is a surefire way for potential burnout and also to increase mental health concerns with our students. If your child is from the out of district program, unfortunately, they won't have access to Zello. But the good news is when they join ninth grade next year, they can then do the Zello activities all once they join next year. So going on to the next slides, test and assessments. Melanie, do you want to take this? It looks like you're busy typing answers.
I will jump back in and return to the chat in a moment. So in high school, I think we touched prior on graduation pathways. It used to be that students had to take a state test and pass that state test to graduate. Now the state test is just one way to meet a graduation pathway, and students don't necessarily have to take the state test to meet that pathway. In high school, we also have access to other tests or assessments, not necessarily required, but options in high school. So families may have heard about the SAT or ACT, Scholastic Aptitude Test, or I can't remember what ACT stands for. These are tests not for high school, but can be a component of a college application. Some colleges consider this optional. Some colleges won't look at SAT or ACT scores at all, and some might require an SAT or ACT test. So these are not high school level tests, but tests that high school students might take depending on colleges that they are interested in. Typically, students are most usually pursuing these tests at the end of their junior year, although some students will test early or may choose to test later, even into fall of their senior year. Also, we've talked a fair amount about two programs, Advanced Placement or AP, and also International Baccalaureate or IB. So both of these programs are dual enrollment programs, meaning a student is taking this class in high school, but can earn college credit for how they perform. Typically, the college credit for these are based on how a student does on the exam that is the culmination of the class. That being said, students can choose to take the class and then decide not to test at the end of the class. They might not earn college credit, but they have taken the rigor and demonstrated rigor in their curriculum. They also could choose not to take the class, but sit the test. So if a student is biliterate in Spanish, they might choose to take an AP Spanish exam, even if they haven't taken the AP test, to demonstrate their academic performance there and potentially earn college credit. The international, so advanced placement is a national program. So in the United States, advanced placement determines the curriculum for each course that is an AP course. So hypothetically, if you were taking AP language and composition in New York or in Wisconsin or in Washington State, it's the same curriculum, just delivered by different schools. International Baccalaureate is an international program. So similarly, college level program, there is an exam at the end. Based on the exam, you may earn college credit. They are UWs each year equal in worth in terms of demonstrating rigor. They're just different programs. They each have their own unique aspects. So IB is an international program. There may be colleges outside of the United States that are more familiar with IB than they are with AP, but they both offer academic rigor. In order to take an IB exam, you must take the class. So there are some components of each program that is a little bit different. I know that there are AP offerings at all three of our comprehensive high schools, including Skyline, though the breadth of the offering may vary school to school. IB is specifically offered at Skyline. Lastly, you may have also heard about the PSAT, which is a preliminary SAT. We do dedicate a school day each October to offer the PSAT to all 10th and 11th grade students as a school day opportunity. This is to give them a good baseline knowledge of what a college entrance exam like the SAT or ACT would be like. It is a no risk or low risk opportunity for students. The score is not used in college applications at all. For 10th grade, the score is only used for your own knowledge of yourself. That's a good predictor of how a student might later do on the SAT. In 11th grade, also not used for college applications, but it is a qualifier for the now, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out, for the National
Merit Scholarship.
National Merit Scholarship Competition. Thank you, Lorna. This is a scholarship competition for the highest scoring students on the PSAT nationwide. So for most students, that's not a factor. It's just a good opportunity to learn about themselves and to get used to a more high stakes testing setting before attempting a test themselves or deciding whether or not they want to take a test. Anything I missed on that, Lorna? These are all options in high school, not requirements.
And just a reminder, IB exam is only for students at Skyline who are in the IB class. The AP exams, sometimes Skyline students taking rigorous classes, they're not necessarily in the AP class, but they have sat for AP exams. They just need to make the arrangement. Okay, and next one. So Melanie, I'll do the MLL program. So MLL program is the multilingual program. So any of the students who are currently in the MLL, which is the multilingual learners, they used to call them EL, English language students. They will still be, if they're not yet proficient in 8th grade, they will take a test called WIDA in February, March. And if they're still not proficient, then they will qualify for being in the program in high school. In high school, students take one English language development class from a certificated ML teacher, and this class focuses on academic language because academic language takes a lot longer than just regular language. And so to be sure that the students are successful in math, social studies, science, language arts, the ML class helps build that fluency. We also have a special education program. So some of you noticed IEP, which is an individualized education plan for students who are in the special education program. And there is an upcoming event. Several parents asked me, what about classes and what about the transition to high school? Yes, that's a great question. And that is a question that the best person to really support you with is your case manager of your child's IEP. And they can go through with you on and giving you tips about what classes to take at the high school to make sure that your child is successful. And then also each year, I would start now this year, and then every year to talk about, are they on track for graduation? What are the graduation requirements, and what classes would be best for them? Also in the course catalog, there are several classes that you will see individualized education plan. There's a note on there suggesting that maybe that class students with an IEP, that class would be maybe a good fit for them. So keep that in mind. But there's an event coming up on February 9th, and I will send you the link for those families interested in that at once you've done the feedback in the email with all the resources. So role of the school counselor, and that's Melanie again.
Okay, great. So I am a school counselor in all of our high schools, all of our middle schools. There is a school counselor who is assigned to your student. Oftentimes our role is may not always be obvious to other people what we do. So I can share a little bit more about how the role of school counselor is defined. We work across three main domains within our profession, providing academic support to students, social emotional support, and also helping students prepare for life after high school. So within academic support, I, as a high school counselor, have 375 students. So that doesn't mean that I'll be able to meet with each student to choose their courses for high school. However, broadly, I'm looking at all students within my alpha group, monitoring their progress towards graduation, ensuring that they have a pathway to earn their high school diploma, and providing support to guide them along the way. That may be answering questions as they arise from students and families about course selections, helping students look at new students who are coming into our district, look and see where are they towards meeting our school's graduation requirements and what additional things do they need. We might provide information, suggestions, resources, point students towards academic support systems within our schools if they are struggling and need further help. So those are some of the things that I do within academic supports. Social emotional counseling. So within the United States, ideally it is not a stigma to talk to a counselor. We are here to address any barrier that might stand in the way of a student accessing their education. So should there be internal emotions or dynamics within a friend group or other things that in a complex teenage life are starting to get in the way of their ability to access their education, to come to school, to be successful in the classroom, the counselor is one point of reference to help students get unlocked. It could be that a student is just having a bad day and needs a safe place to let off some of their big feelings. That's something that I might do. A student might come to me and we create a safe space, give a little bit of time to unpack and process some feelings, help them get back to the point of education. It could be that there are large barriers happening in their life that are regularly standing in the way of coming to school. And we might do some more intensive planning and might be connecting them to resources on campus or off campus that might help provide them support. We know that in the United States, across the country and in the world, whether it is a big anxiety, big A anxiety or little a anxiety, big D depression or little d depression, there can be some really big feelings that are impacting students and may impact their success in school. And as the social emotional part of my job, what I am looking to do is to support students and help address any barriers that are standing in their way. And then lastly, we're really looking to help students throughout from K through 12 to think not just about come to school because it's required by law, but to start to understand how school might help them prepare to be an adult in the world, to help them over time connect the dots between what they're doing in school and how that might play a role in being prepared for life after high school, in whatever capacity that may be. So those are all components of being a high school counselor. Lorna, any other thoughts on that one?
No, I think you covered a lot. And then there's some questions on flex time. Do you want to talk a little bit about flex time? Because that's very different in the high school compared and homeroom to the middle school.
Yes. Okay. So in each high school schedule, students will have their classes, but they will also have homeroom, which is where they're often delivered like general non-instructional information, like assemblies, high school and beyond plan, important like information from our administrators about school, broad area for them to receive information. Flex time is also in their schedule, and that's a little bit more unique. So we moved to the opportunity to build into the school day a time when students can get support from their teachers, can access help within the school, can have some time to explore an interest that is not specifically course-based. What we found is while after-school programs are great, there is an equity issue where after-school access could be limited to students who have their own transportation or families who can pick them up, or there may be barriers to not all students can necessarily stay beyond the time when we have transportation to bring them home. So within the high school schedule, there is flex time, and that's a time when you could go get help from a teacher. You could take a test that you missed because you were out with a fever. You could go to a fun session that a teacher's offering just because it's fun and kids are interested in it, like I don't know, like a Dungeons and Dragons session or whatever is teachers are offering. And students sign up for those sessions week by week, choosing what is a good fit for them. We also have informational sessions, like that is a time when counselors provide flex sessions on college applications or the Running Start program, where we can answer a lot of questions in more detail from students who would like to dive deeper than the information that they received, say, in homeroom. Does that help, Lorna?
Yes. And there's something known as block schedules at schools on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And on Tuesdays, students have periods 1, 3, 5, 7. And on Wednesdays, 2, 4, 6. And that allows for them to have that flex and homeroom schedules on those 2 days.
Exactly.
And if you want to look more into that, go to each school's website and look at their bell schedule. You'll notice that the bell schedule at the high school is very different than the bell schedules at the middle school, because the middle school is 6 classes and homeroom. In high school, it's 7 classes plus the block schedule that has homeroom and flex on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that's a very different one. So College and Career Center is a space in the school. It's usually in the library, and it's a great resource for students. Families may accompany students, but honestly, it's mainly a resource for students. Students usually go there during their lunch times, and sometimes they go there during a flex period. But very often during lunchtime is the time that most kids go there, because the College and Career Center specialists invite different colleges to come and present. And during that time, there's more information about the different colleges students may be interested in. They also have resources, flyers, posters, a lot of information about that. So the mission for the College and Career Center is to help students plan for post-secondary goals. Your child is probably not going to talk to those people as much, the specialists in ninth grade, but starting in 10th grade, they may start attending events hosted by them, and in 11th and 12th grade, definitely, because they might be talking to them about, uh, you know, careers, about different colleges, or just talking to them about information on ideas for colleges or what colleges are going to come to the school for their visits. Okay. And we talked about college entrance exams, college entrance. So check my recommendation for you is go and do some homework by looking a little bit about at the college your child might want to attend and see what the requirements are. And and that way you kind of have an idea of what classes the student should take during the course of the school year. Most colleges won't say, oh, the grade point average needs to be a 3 point blah, blah, blah to be accepted in. But usually, somewhere on the website, they might say kids with this range of GPA are more likely to get into the college. Colleges are looking for essays and extracurricular activities. Colleges are looking for leadership skills, participation in different programs. Uh, Many colleges did not require ACT and SAT scores, but and still don't require it. But I see more colleges maybe looking at it um, because there's been a shift. For a while, they're like, oh, it's not important, and now there's been talk again that they may start looking at it again. So just look at the college and see, does it require SAT scores? As you can see, Washington State schools do not require. It is optional, and you can submit that score if you want it, if you want to. Okay, high school athletics. One of the best parts of high school is access to the many athletic programs. To just like in middle school, you need to upload and put all your forms in final forms. There are fees. The fees, I will honestly tell you, are much higher than in middle school. And just like in middle school, physicals are required. One big difference for this, and I'm going to remind you, and this is important, is football and a couple other sports, if they are fall sports, practice starts in August. So if your child is interested in a sport, especially a sport you know that happens in fall, make sure that they are checking the website and looking to see when the practices and when the tryouts happen so they don't miss those the tryouts. So again, go to the high school's athletic page late June so that you have this information as your child is interested in some athletics. I know for sure football, they start practice in August. I know that swimming also, sometimes they have practices in August before school starts. But the thing is, we really encourage many kids to join some kind of athletic team because it's a great way to meet students, participate, and really to feel part of the school, to have that sense of belonging, to create connections. Another great thing about clubs, about high school, is the number of clubs they have available. All of the schools have their own unique set of clubs. So just because Skyline has a club doesn't necessarily mean that Issaquah will have it. But what's great is that students can create their own club by applying and filling out a form to create that club if that club doesn't already exist. They just need to show that they have a set number of people who are interested in being part of that club. And so it's a great way for them, again, to feel connected. The clubs are good in that they try to have different dates for different clubs to be meeting, and it's all after school so that kids can, have a club they might be going to on Mondays and another club on Wednesdays, another club on Tuesdays. So they try to spread out the days that the clubs meet so kids can be part of multiple clubs. Some of you were asking about National Junior Honor Society. If your child is in National Junior Honor Society, it's not automatic that they will be in National Honor Society in high school. They will be invited to attend, to join, and then they will have to meet the requirements of the high school's National Honor Society to maintain uh, their part of being that group. Part-time jobs, internships, and volunteer opportunities. Many people have asked me if volunteering is required to graduate, and the answer is no. There is no volunteer as a requirement for graduation, but it is recommended because it shows, especially if they can show how they grew. It's community service, and service to the community is something very often some colleges will talk about or want to see. Um, and so even a job, having a job sometimes shows a college that you can multitask, that you can, be doing this other thing, working at the same time as going to high school and being successful. So all of these things are parts that you're going to add to your college application to show this well-roundedness. Some colleges may not be looking for that. Some trade schools and other vocational, maybe they're looking for more internships and more work in other fields to be more marketable for that program. So just check to see. That's why it's always good to see where you want to go and then kind of work backwards. And if you change your mind, though, that's why we always say take a wide swath of classes just so that if you change your mind, you still have that opportunity to change, to pivot and go in another direction than what you originally thought. Someone had asked about athletics and clubs timing. Do they conflict? And yes, sometimes they do because clubs and activity and clubs and athletics are usually after school. So you'll have to balance what time that group is meeting and go from there. So some clubs will meet right after school for a certain amount of time, allowing the kids to go to athletics a little bit later so they kind of stagger when the athletic group will start practicing, just so that the kids can make it to their clubs because many athletes are also part of so many other clubs. So it depends. The school usually has some kind of system where they try to balance it out for the students. Also, when you go to school, your child should double check where they should be logging their volunteer hours. I know, for example, since my child attends Issaquah High School, their PTA website has a log that they can log all their volunteer hours. And if they complete 100 hours by the time they graduate, they get a cord. So double check for each school where that log is. But if you can't find it right away on your own, have your child keep a log of all their outside service hours, just so that if asked, or they can just have a record of it to talk about or to submit if there's a requirement for any kind of club or activity later that year or by graduation time. Gibson Eck. Tanya is here. Hi, Tanya.
Thank you.
So Tanya is the principal at Gibson Eck High School, and she is going to talk about Gibson Eck High School in the next couple of slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorna. Gibson Eck is an option for all students in the Issaquah School District. And so it is a smaller environment. We only have about 200 students, and students work really closely with their teacher. And one of the big things is we really emphasize learning by doing. And so instead of taking traditional classes, students do project-based learning, and they design these projects with their teachers, and then also with mentors and professions. So all students do internships. We spend a lot of time in the community, a lot of field trips, a lot of connections with professionals. And then students are exploring, experimenting, they're completing their projects. We use a lot of design thinking as a way to really move through learning. And then students are, that's how they're learning science and English and math and social studies and the other subject areas. So a lot of exploration, a lot of projects, and just a lot of opportunities to challenge themselves with real world learning. So we don't have credits in the way that the other schools do, and instead students put together a portfolio of their learning. And then with that portfolio, they present that, and that is how they demonstrate that they have met the standards for science and for language arts and social studies and the other subject areas. So our students, they graduate and then they go on to many of the same pathways as all the other schools. So most of our students go to 4-year schools after Gibson Eck, and many go to a 2-year school, or they go into an apprenticeship program or something like that. So we prepare them for that. We just do it in a different pathway. The difference with traditional school is that you are not automatically enrolled in Gibson Eck, so students can apply. And I think the most important things to know at this point is that to find out more information, there's information on our website. We have an open house next week, February 4th in the evening, Wednesday evening at Gibson Eck High School at 6 o'clock. And so we'll be welcoming people. You can learn more about the school. And then we have applications open right now, and those close on March 13th. So that's just a little bit about Gibson Eck and a different way to do high school in a smaller setting. And so if you have questions, please check out the website or connect with me.
Tanya, someone asked if anyone could apply or if it's by feeder pattern. And we had talked that, and you had also mentioned again that all students in the ISD that live within the Issaquah School District boundary can apply, and it's an admission by lottery.
Correct. And so we take 60 students every year. If you are currently living in the Issaquah School District boundaries, but you're attending, say, a private school or homeschool, you are still eligible to apply if you would like.
Tanya, is Gibson Eck part of the open enrollment process?
It's a little different process. We've been filling we're at capacity as well with our seats as well. So it hasn't been, but we are this year opening. Usually we just take students as they're coming into 9th grade, but we are taking some students as they're coming into 10th grade this year. So if there are students who are looking to come in as 10th graders, we're bringing them in as well.
Thank you very much. And I will include the Gibson Eck link also in the feed, for those of you who complete the feedback form, and I send you an email later on this week. I'll include some of these resources if you're interested in going to Gibson Eck or learning more about it. Thank you very much, Tanya. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank
Hi,
you.
Stephanie.
Hello, good evening. My name is Stephanie Greason, and I oversee the online learning program here in the Issaquah School District. And I'm here to just present on specifically our full-time online school that's opening up fall of 2026. So just to give a little bit of background about ISD Online, we currently are running 2 programs right now, with our third one, which is our full-time online school opening up fall of 2026. So in front of you on the screen, there are 3 different options for ISD Online. So we have our option 1, which is our part-time program that has been in existence since 2012, actually. And students in our part-time program can take up to 2 online courses within their school day, and those students are considered our ALE students, or Alternative Learning Experience students. These classes are at no cost. They're free, they're state funded. Or students can take a course in addition to their school schedule. There is a cost, and those students are considered a family pay, part of the family pay program. Students who might want to take a class or two, but still take classes in building at their high school, is like a hybrid type schedule. So that's part of our part-time program. And they may take a class or two for acceleration. Perhaps the course is not offered in person. Credit deficiency, perhaps credit recovery, grade improvement, home-based learning, so our homeschool folks, learning style, medical reasons, or private school. Students in our hybrid program, part-time program, can take up to 8 credits maximum online. There are some rules and guidelines for that. And they're a graduate of their local ISD high school that they attend. And these are semester level courses. So this is a program that's been in existence. It's not planning on changing. Our applications for our part-time program will open up beginning of March. We'll jump to the third option, which is our re-engagement program, which we opened in fall of 2024. Students in this program are referred by ISD staff. They're part of our ALE program, so students are taking courses within their school schedule, and then they're a graduate of any of the ISD schools in our system, depending on where they attend their home school. This is based on a quarter system, and then we have required in-person support sessions at the admin building for students in that program. Students in the re-engagement program perhaps are taking classes with us for credit deficiency, medical reasons, and or there's some sort of barrier with attending school, so there's some truancy going on. And then our second option, which is right in the middle, is what we're launching in fall of 2026, where students can take all of their classes online in a remote setting. We do have drop-in tutoring and support sessions available at the admin building, but there'll also be virtual support sessions and Zoom meetings with ISD teachers and Washington State certified teachers. The ISD online school will be on a quarter system, so students will take 3 to 4 classes in a quarter. And then there'll be a graduate of the ISD online school, and there's no cost. These are ALE students, again, alternative learning experience, which just means we're state funded, but there are some rules that we follow. And then students in the full-time online school might be looking for more of a flexible schedule. So perhaps they enjoy learning online, self-motivated, super organized, need a little bit more of a balance. There could be medical reasons and or there's some extracurriculars where they're trying to have, perhaps they work maybe during the day and then need to take more of their classes in the evening. So that's just an overview of ISD Online and what we're planning on launching in fall of 2026. And then we'll go ahead and go to the next screen. Okay, so eligibility for ISD Online full-time school. So really just focusing on what we're launching in fall of 2026. So who can attend? Any student in grade 9 through 12. So unlike Gibson X, students can apply before grade 9, before grade 10, before grade 11, before grade 12. They do have to be a resident of the ISD. So they have to live here in the school district. And then the completed application is required along with a welcome meeting in the summertime. And then our enrollment actually opens March 2nd, and then it goes through May 4th. So I know it says March 1st through May 1st on the screen, but it's actually March 2nd through May 4th. So who can thrive in this environment? So students who are seeking alternative learning environments, they could learn from anywhere within the state of Washington, even though they do need to live here, need balance due to commitments, prefer flexible schedule and self-paced learning. So our classes are not live Zoom classes, they are asynchronous. So students work at a pace following recommended due dates, and they do need to stay on track with their classes. And then students must meet attendance and coursework requirements. Go on to the next slide. So if you'd like to learn more, our ISD online website can be found at that link, and we can also put it in the chat as well. Our final school website will actually be going live tomorrow. So if you go to our website this evening, it's our temporary website, but our final one will be going live tomorrow. For more information about ISD Online School, you can complete the form, which is at the QR link to your right. Or you can email our staff at isdonline@issaquah.wednet.edu, and we do respond within 2 school days typically. And then if you're really interested and want to learn even more, you can meet the staff and learn more at our next virtual open house, which will be Thursday, February 5th at 6 p.m. We do ask that you sign up just so we know who's coming, and then we can add you to our listserv so we can continue to send out more information. Thanks so much, and please reach out if you have any questions.
Stephanie, I have 2 quick questions for you. Are there any ALE online classes in the summer, and when can we register?
So summer school information for online is not available at this time. It will be available beginning of March. And then to register for ISD full-time online school, that will open up March 2nd and close May 4th.
Okay, and then the other question was asked was, if you're taking ISD online, if you're an ISD online school, do you have access to sports? Can I take sports at Issaquah High School, for example?
A good question. Yes, you can. You'll have access to all extracurriculars. So I like to think about it, anything extra in addition to the day. So clubs, sports, activities, in addition to the school day. You would not have access to any classes within the school day at the high school.
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email Stephanie and her team at isdonline@issaquah.wednet.edu, or Melanie, just put the ISD Online School Open House interest form so you can sign up and attend her event. Okay? Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thanks. The next one is just general reminders. So we talked about IEPs. It's really important to start talking with your case manager if you have questions about the transition to high school. And you can, if you've already had your IEP meeting, if your child is in the special education program, you can always ask to have a follow-up meeting before the end of the school year as you plan for this transition. But note that your case manager in 8th grade, your child's 504, if your child has a 504 plan, if your child has a health plan, all of those people who manage those plans, they will have a meeting sometime in May, June with the case managers in the high school to help coordinate the transfer of information for those plans. Okay, so the school will have a plan on how that information will be shared with the high school, and that plan will be sent off. So if you want any changes for that, you should contact the case managers or the school counselor who manages your 504, or the school nurse for your health plan by the end of this year if you're looking to have something changed, updated next year. But otherwise, the people in charge of that will be having those meetings. Lunch. At the high school, your lunch account is the same number, and it also transfers. There are a lot more lunch options. At school, 9th graders are not allowed to go off campus. And so many kids, the same, take their own lunch, or if they want to buy lunch, they can do that. So it's pretty much the same system. Transportation, your bus route, for some schools, it will probably change. So in August, you should check your route to see where your bus stop is. There's an activity bus, just like in middle school, Monday through Thursday. It may not be the same stop, but similar system for transportation. You're also going to have an assigned laptop in high school, and it'll be distributed by the first week of the school. Grades will also be on Canvas, just like in middle school. And attendance, I I need to take off the graduation milestone when we changed to Q, the new Skyward Family Access. We don't, the new Skyward doesn't keep track of graduation milestones. We can keep our fingers crossed that it will. But in Zello, there is a way to kind of look at that, right? Yes. Okay, so big information is this was just a general overview to kind of give you general information to kind of get you thinking and also to maybe look at the high school website, course catalog, stuff like that to get you thinking so that when you attend the high school event, you're a little bit more ready to understand some of the things the schools will say. Most of the middle school events, I have it on the next slide, are in February, and the high schoolers will present to the eighth graders also. So while there's a big event for families, the high school counselors go to each of the 6 middle schools and also talk to the middle schoolers. So note that there's a separate presentation for your children, and then your child will submit their course selection directly through Student Access, just like they do their course selection in middle school. It's a similar process, so they'll know when to do it. Yes, and just like in middle school, you will have access to grades in Canvas. Family Access is really for the final grades, but Canvas is the kind of weekly updates and grades. Okay, so the dates. Skyline and Liberty have it on the same day, the 25th. Look at the website for more information because your child's specific time for them to go may vary. Issaquah High School, for example, has it over 2 days because the day that you and your child or you will be attending will be on a date based on your last name. And so look at that. I also have it on the last slide of my deck. And when I send this, I'll include that information for you also. If your child is out of district, how does registration happen? So if they're out of district, you will have to apply for open enrollment so that your child can attend Liberty if that's the school you want to go to. But you should double check because I believe Liberty and all of the high schools are closed for open enrollment. So you can check with Debbie Courage, who is the ISD registrar, to see if your child is eligible to register at Liberty, because that's why it happens in the middle schools. Oh, if you live in the Liberty area, then you're fine. But if you're not currently going to Liberty, then you can go to send an email to, if you're not currently in the school district though, you're probably going to have to register to be in
Lorna,
the
I just included the enrollment page on the district website. That's a great place for families to get started. If you're currently student is attending a private school and you plan to enroll in a Issaquah school district, or you're coming from another place and you've moved into the area, starting on that enrollment page is a great way to get started.
Yeah, so if you're in a private school and coming back to the school district, you can go to the enrollment, and as long as you live within the boundaries, you'll be fine. So the schools are doing information night about the specific classes at their schools. So at Skyline, you will learn about the courses available, the course selection, all of that. So it's specific for that school. This one was very general. That's why many of you had questions about IB at Skyline or AP or PE classes and how to get PE credit and how do you take outside PE for credit. That's a great time to talk to the school counselor to see what are the options for that specific school. So next one, what can families do to prepare their child? Visit and become familiar with information provided by the high school their child will be attending. Talk to your eighth grader about their interests and plans. Plan to be flexible. Very often kids just want to go, parents want their children to take specific classes to go on a certain pathway, and just keep in mind that children may want to explore a little bit and really One of the big parts of the high schools in the United States is to give the children opportunity to grow and test different fields, to take classes in that may interest them in different areas. So just keep that in mind. So flexibility is really key. In ninth and 10th grade, start building a relationship with the high school counselor. Have your child actually make a meeting with the high school counselor, because it's really the relationship with the child and the high school counselor, and they will develop a relationship and trust so that the child can ask for suggestions, talk about course options and such with the counselor during times that works for the counselor and the child. And the counselors usually make appointments with students during uh, very often it's flex and homeroom time or class period that is they're able to pull them out and not miss, right? Because you don't want to pull a kid out in the middle of like an important lab in science or something.
I can speak specifically to IHS, and I think it's similar at Skyline and Liberty. We try and keep our calendars open during lunch periods so students can drop in to see their counselor before school, during lunch, or after school. And then at IHS, we all use Microsoft Booking. So there's a link on the counseling website where students can book an appointment time with a counselor, shows them where there's free time on our calendar. It's a great way for students to start to reach out to their school counselor once they are in high school. And currently, eighth grade students should be partnering with their current middle school counselor.
Melanie, for students from private school, can they attend the event in February?
Yeah, these are open events. I think we would love to see any students who are coming new to our schools.
Perfect. And yes, you should also complete the open enrollment form just so that all those forms can you're not really filling out open enrollment, you're just filling out the enrollment application because you live already in the school district in our boundaries.
We can't do much until students have filled out, until the enrollment packet is filled out and you're officially coming to us.
But then that'll be a good way for you to continue talking with a registrar about enrolling in classes. So the next one is, if you're not already reading the bulletins, please make sure you're reading the bulletins, because that first month in August, you're going to have a lot of events. At the beginning and right before school starts, they do a big ninth grade night. They do tours of the school. I'm not sure if they do it. I can't remember if they do a tour of the school for the event in February, but I know for the August event, they will be doing a tour of the school. And so a lot of information is shared. At the high school, there are so many different important dates. Honestly, it can be overwhelming. I know the best tip I got as a parent for my child going into high school was to join the parent Facebook group and also the Instagram for the ASB, Associated Student Body. Issaquah High School has a Instagram group, and I actually absolutely dislike social media, but I created an Instagram account just so that I could see the high school Instagram page, because a lot of the clubs and sports post information on those pages. So a lot of communication, especially at Issaquah High School, is via their Instagram pages. And so check your school, and if that's the case, you may need to consider joining those social media pages, and I just do it for the high school. So think about that. If you have questions, please contact and connect with your middle school counselor. It's not yet time for you to talk to your high school counselor, but the middle school counselor would be the person to connect with. But wait till after the information night from your high school before asking follow-up questions. Okay. And also kind of check the school's website and the course catalog for that. As Melanie said, the high school pages have a lot of information. And I get that sometimes for parents it can be overwhelming because you're clicking all over the page. You don't even know what you don't know and where to go to. And so if you're looking for information and you're having a hard time finding the links, that is when it's a great time to connect with your family liaison or me and say, hey, I'm looking for more information on this. Can you help me find and locate where I can find this information? So make sure you're attending that incoming night, both in February and also in August, and talk to your child about their interests so you can better prepare and coach them for what classes they should take throughout high school. And with that, we are officially done. So I know it is already 8:30, and if you need to go, yes, thank you very much. And you can also join PTSA. Thank you for putting that plug for PTSA. PTSA is a great way of joining their social media page has a lot of updates to help you. So if you we are officially done. If you don't have any questions, you're welcome to drop out. If you have any questions, please stay online and unmute and ask your question. I tried to answer as many questions, but at some point there were 15 or 20 questions coming in at a time in my chat, and I stopped. So but please feel free to ask.
If hello,
Go ahead, Paul.
can you hear me?
Go ahead, Paul. What's your question? Oh, no? Okay, Sonia, did you have a question?
Yeah, if a student select, if there is a course like photography, it comes under fine arts and CTE. So what credit it will be counted?